Welcome to the Pastor's Table. I'm Tara Beth Leach.
And I'm Mark Quanstrom. And this is now the third episode, which was unplanned, but we're talking about some really good stuff.
There could be a fourth. You never know.
There could be a fourth. We're gonna see if we can wrap this up in 30. Now, we've had other guests that we have wanted to go long on, but they're typically the schedule's a little tighter, and there's a friendship here between Tara Beth and Greg, and we're all in the studio together, which changes the dynamic just a little bit. And so he has graciously agreed to stay for another 30 minutes. So Tara Beth, where we left you, feels like kind of a sitcom. Where we left you, a radio show, right?
I've been sitting here waiting for a whole week.
I know. Where we left you last was, is Tara Beth going to take the church? Is Pastor Greg going to come back?
Dun, dun, dun.
The answer is,
to be continued.
How does that all happen? So Tara Beth is rightfully anxious about returning to pastoral ministry, period. And as she talked about last time, there is a glass cliff where the radical change is really set up for failure through no fault of their own. And Pastor Greg is encouraging Tara Beth to take the church. And in the conversation that she had with Pastor Greg, she realizes they're moving back anyway. That is reassuring, right? So, but Pastor Greg's not going to step all over Tara Beth. He's giving her space. He's not going to come in as a rescuer, right? You don't want to be the rescuer for the church. Pastor Greg doesn't want to be your rescuer, which is really important.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, so I end up coming back. It's, March of 2023 now.
All right.
And the momentum was shocking for me, and still is, because we're still on that momentum wave right now at Good Shepherd.
Honeymoons can last their whole life.
We're in a 2-year honeymoon for sure. And which is, we've had some really, for as long as I've been a pastor, we've gone through some things.
You have. Well, you left your denomination.
We left a denomination. Like we just did a $9.5 million generosity initiative.
Yeah,
we're making some significant changes. And like we've gone through things and hard things. And honeymoon doesn't mean it's been without challenge.
Right.
It doesn't mean that it's been without pain or hard conversations. All those things have happened. I guess I would describe it as just such a profound sense of call and love for this church is so surprising to me. And even they're just the way that they are like just flourishing, and their faith and their faithfulness, fidelity to one another, fidelity to the Lord. And it was like that from day one. Even though I was trying to temper things, I did have a sense that I was on holy ground, and still do.
Right. So this is where the Lord wants you.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's clear.
Yeah. Whenever I am in distress, whenever I am needing reassurance, the only thing I need to hear from the Lord truly is, you're where I need you to be.
Yeah. And
if I hear that word, so be it.
Yes. And I thought, I knew that God was calling me. I think in my, kind of doubting Thomas part of me was, God is calling me to bury a church and go through hardship.
Thought he was calling you to?
I wasn't sure. I was so afraid. Those were my conversations with God.
That was your human side.
That was it. God, are you calling me because this church is hurting and I'm hospice? I just didn't know.
Okay,
they were in so much pain. I wasn't sure if I was coming in to be a hospice nurse. I mean, that's not my style. Like my style is like, let's go.
There's no way you were ever going to be a hospice nurse.
I know. These were my dark nights of the soul conversations with God.
I had someone at college church tell me when I took college church to give it a decent burial.
You see, I saw, though, in where I entered into Good Shepherd in 1995, a church that had been on life support almost, come back to fullness. In fact, more than, I saw the same thing happening. And so I never doubted that you were not going to be the person to help this church heal and move forward. Never doubted.
So you weren't dealing with the anxiety that she was.
No, obviously
you weren't the pastor. You were going to have to do it.
There's sadness and there's hurt.
Right.
And we both have this context that we weren't there when that blow up happened, that tough time happened, I often say it's a baton drop, just like in a relay race. If somebody drops a baton from someone else, you're disqualified. So it was a very difficult time in the life of the church.
Right.
And so to come to that, you have to be always looking forward.
Yes.
Never looking back.
Correct.
Never leaning into the problems.
Yes.
But looking into the possibility of what God can do and what God will do. He loves his church.
I am so convicted about euthanizing churches.
So are you.
When I was
so are you, Pastor Greg.
Do not be closing churches.
So I learned this, just a little aside, when I was a senior interim pastor outside of Tucson.
Yeah.
I was on a call with other senior interim pastors. It was one of the things I had to do. It was painful, but I was on the Zoom call and they asked, what was the most fun moment you had this past weekend? It was a jump start. And this woman said, I had the best time. We had a service of holy closure. And I sat there and I was like, you could probably see on the Zoom screen, my face went like, what? And I don't believe that. I don't believe that we are called to do. Churches sometimes need to move on.
They do.
But they can move on into the care of other people. But to close churches, that's not what the Great Commission tells us.
No, I think it's So the reason that my first church didn't close is because the district superintendent says I don't close churches.
Yeah.
We don't do that.
Yeah.
And you're acquiescing to a corporate metric. That's what you're doing. You're acquiescing. Why isn't 12 people? That was the size of a synagogue. If you had 12 men, that was synagogue sufficient.
I agree fully with you.
Yes. Yep. So, and we talked to Mandy Smith last week, who took a church of 12. Right. So, but you had seen Good Shepherd, hard time. You come in and you watch the Lord resurrect that church, and you're thinking, it's going to happen again.
It's going to happen again.
It's going to happen again.
And God
you're not sure. You're not sure, which is a lot of times.
And I also just had such a posture of I wanted I just was so the church was so excited, and I didn't want it to be about me.
Right.
I didn't want people to look to me that I was going to resurrect the church. It was, I had such just a holy fear of God and what God wanted to do that I just thought, if God's going to resurrect this church, God will. Right. I'm being faithful to come here. I love these people. I love this church. It's a special place. And, day one, we've been in sync as a church. As the Spirit of God is doing such beautiful, amazing things. And I still have this sense that I'm on holy ground. And my biggest fear is I just don't want to screw it up.
Yeah, well, that's a word that's a legitimate fear. We all should live with that fear. Yeah. We don't, Lord, don't let me mess the work you have to do here. Yeah. Don't let me. I don't want to be the one to mess it up.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Every pastor should live with that.
Yep. So I'm. It's March. Pastor Greg and Ida Lynn moved back to Chicagoland in April. You and I think we had a lunch, and I planted this idea. I said, hey, what do you think about coming back?
Wait. How long are you the pastor of this church so far?
Not even a month.
About that.
Yeah.
So you're a month in, but of course back in December you're thinking.
I knew.
Yeah, you knew then.
I knew.
But you didn't wait very long.
I had plans for Greg's life that he did not know about.
Yeah, but you didn't wait very long to ask
Greg
to be back apart.
Although it wasn't triggered at that time. It was an idea that
came in September.
Yeah, kind of put into possible motion, but still needed to be tested.
Yeah.
But you didn't want to come back too soon.
I wanted to do what God wanted me to do, just like in every other place.
And you did. I do remember you saying that you wanted to give me. And
I think the leadership did too. They wanted to honor.
It was 6 months. They wanted me to have 6 months.
You had a time by yourself, and there's always a fear. It's the human fear. Will he? Although he has shown signs before he can handle this, and his ego's in check, and everything's fine, will he finally mess up? Will he mess this place up too?
And that was the original impetus for the podcast. How many pastors would call a former pastor to be on the staff?
Yeah, I could have totally been a problem. So we were coming back. good friends at Community Christian Church, John and Dave Ferguson. Our daughter now worships there. So that's what we called our home.
Yeah.
And I love Community Christian Church, and they love Tara Beth also. So it was kind of a cool journey that we were on. While we were doing that, somewhere late summer, we came up with this idea. Why don't I come back with Ida Lynn and worship one Sunday? Mm-hmm. Tara Beth announced that we were back, and we'd been back since April, and now we're just going to be there. And we kind of put this plan into motion.
Yes.
And to see, was I going to be a distraction?
Right.
So we worshiped one week, and Tara Beth said, hey, that worked pretty well. And I think we stayed away a week and then came back another week.
Okay, but how did it feel for you to come back?
It felt good. I had done a wedding during that time.
All right.
A baptism.
All right.
So I people knew me, and because I did not leave under negative constraints, entering back in the building, I don't want to say they, like made you rock star status. It's not what they did. It's just there was a familiar love that was shared.
Many people were glad to see you.
Yes.
I'm
sure there were some
glad
that
to see
were
you.
saying, what is he doing back again? Yeah. But
no. Yeah, maybe.
Maybe. It's a possibility.
Maybe. It's okay. It's always
they
a
were
possibility.
so excited.
So I have to imagine that you were swarmed a little bit.
To some degree.
Yeah, there's nothing.
So here's the measure. The measure is, was God going to be glorified in this moment? Was God going to be lifted up?
Yes.
Was the leadership of Tara Beth going to be honored? And we were able to figure out that by coming back, it was not going to wreck what had begun.
Right. Right. They had moved on. They loved you, but they realized you were not going to be their pastor.
Well, it took a lot of teaching into that and leading into that because, Greg is not a small personality, as you are larger than life, and people were afraid, people were afraid that like the church council was at first like, well, what are you afraid that he'll drown you out?
Well, that's why I was like,
have you met me? I am also like, I don't have a small personality. It's not like I'm like this, mousy, like quiet.
So it could almost be insulting that they would ask you the question, right?
I wasn't insulted.
I am a larger than life than Greg.
Yeah.
Well, they're the unspoken words that happen and that wreck too many leadership moments.
Yeah.
Say that again. Wait. Say that again.
The unspoken words that happen in the darkness of our soul.
Yeah.
That wreck leadership moments.
Right.
Are the voice inside of us that say we need to be somebody. And
we need to be somebody.
Who we are is God's gift to ministry, God's gift into his love, and we just do what the Lord leads us to do.
We're already somebody. We don't need to be somebody as a pastor.
Wow.
Correct.
Right. So too many want to become somebody by being a pastor.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's the recipe for disaster.
Wow.
Okay, short story that's similar to this. So the church I took, the previous pastor two times before, was the president of the university next door, right? I knew John Bowling. I worked for him before I came pastor of College Church, right? So the former pastor, dearly loved by the church, is attending the church, right? Because he's the president of the university, and College Church is the church that they typically go to, right? So I'm doing funerals of people who are dying, and I'm the pastor, right? I'm talking to a woman, and she's telling me, we're planning the funeral, and I could sense this reticence. She says, would you officiate? And I said, of course, it'd be my privilege. I'd been their pastor for 8 years. I had earned my stripes. We had a good relationship, but I just sensed. And I said, called her by name, and I said, do you want Dr. Bowling to officiate your husband's funeral? She started crying. And she said,
I get it.
She said, would you be offended? I said, this is not about me. This is about remembering your husband and having him ushered into the kingdom by a pastor you love. And so I called Dr. Bowling and I said, guess what? You got to do a funeral.
Wow.
So some of the journey, though, early on was, and you know this, I don't know if we've ever spoken this moment, but you know this by my behavior. Mm-hmm. As I returned, even in anything that I would say, and I do, this is a truth, Tara Beth is my pastor.
Correct. John Bowling calls me his pastor.
And it's important, and it just isn't lip service. People get it. She's my senior pastor, and I tell people that all the time.
Right.
And so my job is the Aaron job of holding Moses' hands up. Moses.
Yeah.
And so, for me, that's the journey that I've been given right now, is to stay true to that. And we often say, what makes this work? It's definitely checking myself, but it's also that Tara Beth can trust implicitly who I am.
Yeah.
And if I don't do that, then I've done something that I believe dishonors the call that I have to even venture into the sea of ministry.
Mm-hmm. You want to say?
No, yeah. And I mean, that's been my experience. Along the way, I mean, one of the things that I think that we do well, and we've talked about this, is kind of that mutual honoring in front of our people.
Mm-hmm.
It's so important for our people to see, because I also, at the same time, have such a just gratitude for Pastor Greg's history with Good Shepherd Church, for his leadership, and that we get to have him back in this way. And
what a gift.
Oftentimes when we're in front of people, like, they see us mutually honoring one another in that way. And, I don't feel insecure about the love that our church has. Our church loves Pastor Greg. And
I
don't feel
Pastor Greg.
They can love. I don't feel threatened by that. I don't feel threatened when people ask him to do funerals or weddings or baptisms.
Why would you?
No, I'm delighted.
Yes.
But that the first thing I would do is, if I had gotten in the way, I would have stepped away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's not, for me, it's about the health of the church. Mm-hmm. And that is where the seeds are planted and good soil grows things.
And I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've leaned into his wisdom and his experience and his history of leading this church. And to have that around the corner, just down the hallway in our offices,
Well, that's what pastors forfeit. Yeah. They forfeit the wisdom that a former pastor could provide.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. And, he's trusted. He is trusted by by so many people in our congregation. And so when we went through some really difficult times, for them to see Pastor Greg,
correct,
his face, how he's caring and how he views whatever it is that's going on, is only helpful for me.
Right.
Only helpful.
His presence doesn't hurt your credibility. It helps your credibility.
Yes.
Because he is modeling, I love my pastor.
Mm-hmm. And I love the church.
And I love the church.
And I love, more than anything, the call that the Lord Jesus Christ gives to us to do what we're called to do.
So we call this, I can't remember where we came up with this phrase, but it's somewhat of a redeemed succession plan.
Correct.
Is what we ended up calling it. And the reason why I say it is because in my 20s, you planted the seed. I might be your successor. Well, we never got to go through that. But God redeemed that. And this is a redeemed succession plan, because even though Good Shepherd is a very different church than it was 5 years ago when you were, or 6 or 7 years ago, it's very different. But at the same time, I can lean into Pastor Greg and ask him questions and learn from him. And also, he is here to amplify. I mean, you amplify my ministry in so many ways. All
right. So, practical question. So, what do you do?
Clean bathrooms, pick up trash, whatever I'm supposed to do.
I love it.
The kingdom is
I want you
rich.
to come back.
He delivers me my coffee.
But we need somebody in building services.
You know what? I don't have a problem doing anything that needs to get done so the kingdom flourishes. And to be very honest, I walked slowly into what was I supposed to do. So I didn't just assume that doors were open.
Good.
And part of it is refreshing. I got to tell you,
right.
I don't have to sit at leadership decision-making meetings. You do, Tara Beth, and it's all yours.
I can't tell you how many times we'll be in like some sort of, like there'll be some sort of crisis situation, and he'll be like, well, you could just see, this is yours to deal with. I'm going home.
I'll come home and Idolin will say to me, what's happening here? And I'm like, beyond my pay grade. I do not know. And I'm not supposed to know, and I don't need to know. If I really feel that it would help to know, I'll just say, hey, can we have 10 minutes? Just give me your take on what's happening here.
Yeah. And there's been times where I have brought you, just some real like management issues with staff, and I'm racking my brain, like, what do I do?
But it's not my decision.
No.
Every time it's more coaching, it's more consulting. If you even use those dynamics within the context of loving our church and loving the Lord.
Because you've never, when I've brought you in for wisdom, like you've never said, this is what you need to do.
I would never do that
do
to
this.
you.
Like you never tell me what to do.
That's because God has called you into the leadership seat of a senior leader, and I respect that. And that is what the best churches run just fluidly, with ups and downs that come along their way. They run fluidly when people respect the leadership.
But you have to have a title.
Yeah.
So they wanted, as Tara Beth had mentioned before.
I wanted to honor him and call it emeritus.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I would never, don't take emeritus.
No,
don't take emeritus.
It's like kiss of death.
That's exactly right. That's like breaking a hip. You don't want to be emeritus.
So I guess I'm like grandfather. I don't know what I am. I'm a staff support pastor.
Yeah, that's what your title is, staff support pastor.
Technically, that's what we landed on. I'm a pastor on staff.
So you're pastor of the staff.
Yeah. And I pastor with Tara Beth
on the spot before.
and the other pastors there. And we have a young guy, Jake Roberts, who's on our staff, who is just doing phenomenal work. Pamela Palmer. And we all come from different backgrounds and different moments. But the one thing I know I am bringing is this trust level from a group of people who have gone the journey. And they did the journey with me, but they are very loyal to where the journey's going.
Yeah. Right. And you've helped bring them along.
Yeah,
like you've helped move them forward.
Yeah, a lot of those people were devastated when the pastor who did not just connect with the church after the leadership that Gary and I had, some were devastated. They loved him, and he's a good human being.
That's a rough time.
And he's got great personal skills with them. Right. But here's what I would hear. But we love Tara Beth too. Yeah. And I would say, well, then this is a journey we're all on. The journey is you can love the former pastor, and that's okay.
Yes.
But let's honor what's happened. And God now has placed Tara Beth in the leadership seat. So let's honor her and let her lead us strong. And they go, yes.
It does take a congregation to recognize the leadership of the church.
Yes.
There are congregations that always long for the former pastor, which almost guarantees a failure of the current pastor.
Yeah. That's why so many pastors that pass a baton, it doesn't work because people are living in the past.
Yeah. The church won't let it go.
Yeah. And I think that there's so many, this is unconventional. As Good Shepherd has been, my journey's unconventional. Your journey's unconventional. It's so unconventional. However, what was, I don't remember what I was going to say. My brain just stopped.
It was this was where we pay Jazz for fix this
edit time.
Yeah. We were saying sometimes the church doesn't allow sometimes a church doesn't transfer allegiance to a new pastor. That was what we were saying.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I mean, all of this has been incredibly unconventional, but I think there were several anomalies at play here that made this work. Number one, Pastor Greg left for 5 years.
Yeah, that helps.
It's a long time.
That's a long time.
That is a long time. Yeah, churches change. Yeah. I don't have the same church I had 2 years ago.
And I wasn't meddling. Right. I wasn't trying to redirect the church. I wasn't on secret calls.
Yep. You had left.
Yep.
Yes.
You left.
Intentionally.
Yep. The second anomaly was that I was known.
That helps.
The church watched me grow up. They watched me leave for a decade and really come into my own over that decade. And I think because of digital age, they were able to watch me pastor, publicly.
Right.
And so that was the second anomaly. I think the third anomaly is that the church had been through such a difficult time and was ready to move forward. They were ready to move forward.
That kind of helps.
And that's the same dynamic that I was trying to bring forward before that I saw when I started in 1995. They're ready. They're willing. They're good faithful people.
And ready to go.
Oh, so just honoring the faithfulness of a people is so important. So not coming in as a rescuer, not coming as the next Messiah, but coming in respecting the life of God among your people and shepherding the life that's already there is so crucial.
So here's also, for me, one of the places I speak into on a regular basis. Those who are in their senior years at church, who have run and supported this church for many years, know that culture and the church are colliding and changing. And they know for a church to survive, because they all have seen churches that they were a part of at one point not doing well. They're not healthy. They want to see the church move forward. And this is one thing that I get to do on your behalf. Tara Beth has skill sets that God's put inside of the crucible of who she is as a pastor and a human being that see the generation to come. And it's one of the things that I believe our seniors are trusting in, and they're just getting on board, as hard as it is to change and to think that the church will become something different. They want it to become something different.
Yeah.
And that Tara Beth can do that. A group of women over the summer read your Radiant Church work.
That was scary. When I found out that our women's ministry, I was like, oh no, the church found my books.
Tara Beth is like, oh no, what are they going to think? There's some pretty,
lightning rod things in there.
Stuff in there. And they loved it.
Yeah.
And that tells you about this church, that they want to move forward, even in the midst of change being the most difficult thing to do. They want to become the church that God wants them to be. And there's still an emergence about Good Shepherd, even though it has a rich history.
Yeah, and that is so crucial. And that's not every pastor's privilege to have a congregation ready to follow the leadership, a new direction under new leadership.
And I'm not saying it's perfect.
No, I get it.
There's going to be some mountains that Tara Beth's going to have to climb. Yeah. But people in that church want to climb. Some are going to, be early adopters, and some will come along graciously.
Yeah.
But there's very few people who are going to get in the way.
One of the hardest things for me to acknowledge is the folk that helped you get from point A to point B may not be the folk that get you from point B to point C.
Yes.
That is such a heartbreaking truth, reality. But anybody who's been in the ministry for any length of time at all recognizes that the folks you had in leadership 10 years ago may not be the folks who can lead you in the next decade.
Yeah, and we saw it as we switched it out of denomination that we had been a part of. It's a democratic system, so there's a vote of the polity of the body to do that. It was in the 90th percentile. It wasn't that there were some people Lutherans tend to be ethnic animals, Germans and Swedes and Danes and Norwegians, and they didn't want to lose that identity, but it wasn't really about denomination.
Right.
And they saw this clarity of where we're heading, and it feels like promised land.
So that also, there's so much more to talk about. We're at the end of this next 30 minutes, and so many takeaways. I want to just touch on this last one. So one of the things we have to do always is call the church forward.
Yeah.
Call the church forward.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
This has been a blessing.
This has been fun, and I appreciate very cathartic to go inside of a story that God has blessed me with. Yeah. But the cool thing is I've got years still to do this journey.
Exactly right.
And it feels, I kind of feel like a kid in a candy shop. It's like, this is fun.
It is so much fun. Yes. We are having a blast.
What a gift Tara Beth has given you.
Yeah. Amen.
For sure.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to this third installment of Conversation with Pastor Greg. We hope that it is in a little measure, great measure, liberating, and has helped you see how creative our God can be in providing leaders for his church.
Amen. Yeah, friends, thanks so much for leaning in. And Pastor Greg, once again, thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate being here.
What a blessing.
It's an honor.
What a joy.
Thank you for listening to the Encounter Faith podcast. This podcast is a service of G. Shep Productions from Good Shepherd Lutheran Church in Naperville, Illinois. All rights reserved. If you're in the area, we'd love to meet you on a Sunday morning at our 9 a.m. or 10:45 services. At Good Shepherd, we are inviting everyone to walk together in the calling of Christ for a life of eternal impact. This podcast is produced and hosted by me, Ross Cochran. And our theme song is Wake the Earth by 1111 Worship. Thank you for listening. We'll talk again soon.